I'm Emily, 28 years old, and on March 12th, 2023, a man I'd never met asked me why I wasn't living in the house I owned. I was standing outside a homeless shelter in Atlanta with my 4-year-old daughter, Lily, wearing clothes we'd worn for 3 days straight. I didn't own a house. I owned nothing, but he had papers that said otherwise. Papers my parents had hidden for 5 years while they collected rent from tenants living in my home. Before I continue, like and subscribe if you think family betrayal is unforgivable, and comment where you're watching from. Now let me take you back to the night everything shattered. March 12th, 2023, 7:18 p.m., Atlanta Mission Shelter on Peachtree Street, downtown Atlanta. The doors slammed shut behind us. Metal on metal. Final. That sound meant we were in for the night. No leaving until morning. Lily squeezed my hand tighter. She was 4 years old, blonde curls tangled from not being brushed properly in days. Her pink jacket, the one with the torn pocket, smelled like the laundromat we couldn't afford anymore. She looked up at me with those big green eyes and asked the question she always asked. "Mama, when do we go home?" I knelt down, brushed her hair back, forced a smile. "Soon, baby, soon." It was a lie. We both knew it, but she was 4. She believed me anyway. The shelter was packed. 70, maybe 80 people crammed into a space meant for 50. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The air smelled like sweat, disinfectant, and desperation. Cots lined the walls. Families huddled together. A woman near the back was crying quietly into her hands. We'd been rotating between shelters since late February. Atlanta Mission, Gateway Center, Fuqua Hall in Buckhead. Wherever had space, wherever would take a single mom with a kid. I used to have a life, a real one. I grew up in Decatur, Georgia, in a house with a backyard and a tire swing. My parents, Mark and Susan Carter, were respected, comfortable. My father worked in commercial real estate. My mother volunteered at the church. Then I married the wrong man. That's what they called him. Lucas. He wasn't rich, wasn't ambitious. He worked construction, loved me, loved Lily. My parents disowned me 3 weeks after the wedding. Said I'd embarrassed them, that I'd made my choice. When Lucas died in a car accident in 2018, I was 23 years old, 6 months pregnant, and drowning in hospital bills. I called my mother once. She hung up. I never called again. By 2023, Lily and I were counting meals, counting days. I worked when I could, cleaned houses, watched other people's kids. It wasn't enough. It was never enough. That night at the shelter, we ate donated soup from paper bowls. Lily didn't finish hers. Said it tasted like medicine. I finished it for her. Waste nothing. Around 7:15 p.m., I walked her outside for air before bed. The shelter allowed 5 minutes on the sidewalk if you stayed close. Lily liked to look at the cars, pretend they were going somewhere magical. We stood under the streetlight. Cold March wind cut through my jacket. Lily leaned against my leg. That's when the headlights hit us. Bright, white, blinding. A car pulled up to the curb. Slow, expensive. A black sedan with tinted windows and chrome trim. The kind of car that doesn't belong outside a homeless shelter. The engine idled, smooth, quiet. Lily grabbed my coat. "Mama?" I pulled her closer. My heart started pounding. You don't survive on the streets without learning to recognize danger. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out, older, maybe 70, gray hair, tailored coat. He looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. Then he said the words that cracked my entire world open. "Why aren't you living in your house on Peachtree Street?" I stared at him. My brain couldn't process the question. "What?" He didn't repeat himself, just stood there, hands in his coat pockets, watching me. His face was calm, almost sad, like he already knew the answer and hated it. Lily pressed against my side. I could feel her shaking. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said. My voice came out sharper than I meant. "I don't own a house." The man tilted his head slightly, studied me. Then he glanced at Lily. His expression softened. "You're Emily Carter." It wasn't a question. "Who are you?" "My name is Robert Hayes." He took a step closer, not threatening, careful, like approaching a wounded animal. "I'm your grandfather." The world tilted. I knew that name. Robert Hayes, my mother's father. The one she never talked about. The one who'd been cut out of family photos, erased from stories. I'd met him maybe twice in my entire life. Once at a funeral when I was 6. Once at a wedding I barely remembered. "You're lying." "I'm not." His voice was steady, quiet. "Your mother is my daughter, Susan Hayes Carter. We haven't spoken in 14 years. I felt my chest tighten. "Why are you here?" "Because I've been looking for you." He reached into his coat. I flinched. He froze. Pulled his hand out slowly, holding a folded piece of paper. "I need you to see this. I don't want anything from you. Emily." He said my name like it hurt. "Please." Lily tugged my sleeve. "Mama, I'm cold." I looked down at her. Her nose was red. Her lips were chapped. She was shivering. Robert saw it too. He gestured toward the sedan. "There's a blanket in the car. And food. Let me at least give her that." Every instinct told me to walk away, to grab Lily and go back inside. But she was cold and hungry, and I was so tired of watching her suffer. "Fine, but we're not getting in the car." He nodded, went to the back seat, came back with a wool blanket and a paper bag. He handed both to me. I wrapped Lily in the blanket. She buried her face in it immediately. Inside the bag were 2 sandwiches, an apple, and a juice box. Real food, not shelter food. Lily's eyes lit up. "Can I have it?" "Yes, baby." She sat down on the curb, unwrapped the sandwich, and started eating like she hadn't seen food in days, because she almost hadn't. Robert watched her. His jaw tightened. Then he looked at me. "You shouldn't be here." "I don't have a choice." "You do." He held out the paper. "You've had one for 5 years." I took it, unfolded it. It was a property deed, typed, official, stamped by the Fulton County Clerk's Office. The address read, 2847 Peachtree Street, NE, Atlanta, Georgia. The owner's name, Emily Jane Carter. The transfer date, November 3rd, 2018. 2 months after Lucas died. I read it 3 times. My hands started shaking. "This isn't real." "It is. I never signed this." "You didn't have to. It was transferred to you through a trust. Set up before you were born." My throat closed. I couldn't breathe. Robert stepped closer. His voice dropped. "Your parents never told you, did they?" I shook my head, couldn't speak. He exhaled slowly, looked away, then back at me. "Emily, they've been collecting rent from that house since the day it became yours." Lily finished her sandwich, smiled at me, juice on her chin, and I felt something inside me break. Chapter 3. The Family That Erased Me. 600 words. I grew up thinking my parents loved me. That's the cruelest part. For 22 years, I believed it. Our house in Decatur was pale yellow with white shutters. Big oak tree in the front yard. My father, Mark Carter, left for work every morning at 7 sharp. Navy suit, leather briefcase. He managed commercial properties across Atlanta. Made good money. Never let us forget it. My mother, Susan Carter, was PTA president. Hosted book clubs, volunteered at fundraisers. She wore pearls to the grocery store and smiled at everyone. Perfect hair, perfect life. I was their only child. They had plans for me. College at Emory, law school, marriage to someone from a good family, someone with connections, someone who mattered. Then I met Lucas at a coffee shop in Little Five Points in 2016. He was 25, carpenter, tattoos on his forearms. He made me laugh, made me feel seen. We got married 8 months later at the courthouse. I told my parents the night before. My mother didn't cry, didn't yell. She just stared at me like I'd died. My father said one sentence. "If you do this, you're not our daughter anymore." I did it anyway. They kept their word. 3 weeks after the wedding, my mother changed the locks. My father blocked my number. I tried to visit once, stood on the porch ringing the doorbell for 10 minutes. A neighbor told me they weren't home, but I saw the curtain move upstairs. Lucas and I got an apartment in East Atlanta. Small, cheap. We were happy. I got pregnant in early 2018. We painted the nursery yellow, picked out a crib at a thrift store. Then, on September 14th, 2018, Lucas was driving home from a job site in Marietta when a semi-truck ran a red light on Ponce de Leon Avenue. He died at Grady Memorial Hospital 4 hours later. I was 23, 6 months pregnant, alone. The hospital bills came first, then the funeral costs, then the rent I couldn't pay. I worked at a diner until I was 8 months pregnant. Got fired for sitting down too much. Had Lily 2 weeks later at Grady, same hospital where Lucas died. I held her in that room and promised I'd keep her safe, that we'd be okay. I called my mother once, November 2018, 2 weeks after Lily was born. I was desperate, hadn't eaten in 2 days, needed help. She answered on the third ring. I heard her voice and almost cried. "Mom, it's me." Silence. "I had the baby, a girl. Her name's Lily." More silence. "I need help. Just for a little while. I'll pay you back." My mother's voice came through cold, flat. "You made your choice, Emily." "Mom, please." She hung up. I never called again. Pride wouldn't let me. Shame wouldn't let me. By 2020, Lily and I were evicted from our apartment. We stayed with friends, then acquaintances, then strangers. By 2023, we were out of options. Robert stood in front of me now, years later, telling me I'd owned a house the entire time. That my parents knew. That they'd been profiting from my suffering. I looked down at the deed in my hands. My name in black ink. "Where did this come from?" My voice cracked. Robert's face hardened. "From me. I set up a trust for you when you were born. Your mother fought it. I did it anyway. When you turned 18, the house was supposed to transfer automatically. But I never. Your parents intercepted everything. Mail, documents. They told you nothing." Lily looked up at me, still wrapped in the blanket. "Mama, why are you crying?" I hadn't realized I was. Robert's voice dropped lower. "I cut them off years ago, but I kept one secret from them." He paused. "I always knew where you were." Robert drove us to a diner in Midtown. Lily sat in a booth eating pancakes while he spread documents across the table. Deeds, bank statements, rental agreements, my entire life in paper form. The house on Peachtree Street was a 3-bedroom craftsman-style home built in 1998. Hardwood floors, fenced backyard, 2-car garage. It had been purchased by Robert in 2001 and placed in an irrevocable trust with my name on it. When I turned 18 in 2013, the house should have been transferred to me directly. It wasn't. My parents filed paperwork claiming I was mentally unfit to manage property, that I'd struggled with addiction, that I needed a conservatorship. All lies. A judge signed off. My mother became trustee, and for the next 10 years, she controlled everything. They've been renting it out since 2014, Robert said, sliding a bank statement toward me. Look at the deposits. I scanned the page. Monthly deposits, $1,500, every single month, for 9 years. I did the math in my head, over $160,000. My hands started shaking. Where did the money go? Robert's jaw clenched. Into their accounts, home renovations, vacations, a new car for your father. I felt bile rise in my throat. They told a judge I was unfit? Yes. I've never even had a parking ticket. I know. How did you find out? Robert leaned back. His face looked tired, older than it had an hour ago. I have a lawyer who monitors the trust. When the rental income started appearing, he flagged it. I confronted your mother in 2015. She told me you were fine, that you'd signed off on everything, that you didn't want contact. That's not true. I know that now. His voice cracked. I should have pushed harder. I'm sorry. Lily tugged my sleeve. Mama, can I have more juice? I ordered her another cup. Watched her drink it. She had syrup on her cheek. I wiped it away. Robert watched us. How long have you been homeless? Since February. And before that? We moved every few months. Apartments, couches, shelters. He closed his eyes. You should have been safe. You should have had a home. I didn't know I had one. You do now. He pulled out a key, set it on the table. The tenants moved out 2 weeks ago. The house is empty. It's yours. I stared at the key. Silver. Ordinary. It felt like a bomb. I can't just move in. Why not? Because... I didn't have an answer. My brain couldn't process it. Because it doesn't feel real. It's real, Emily. I picked up the key. It was warm from his hand. Solid. I turned it over in my palm. Lily looked at it. What's that? A key, baby. To what? I looked at Robert. He nodded. To our house. Her eyes went wide. We have a house? My throat closed. I nodded. She smiled, the biggest smile I'd seen in months. Can we go see it? I wanted to say yes, wanted to grab her and run to that house and never look back. But something stopped me. What about my parents? I asked Robert. Do they know you found me? His face darkened. Not yet. What happens when they do? He leaned forward. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. When they see you again, Emily, they will panic, because they've built their entire life on a lie, and lies like that don't survive the light. He slid another paper toward me. An invitation, cream-colored, embossed gold lettering. There's a charity gala in 5 days. Sandy Springs Community Foundation. Your parents are hosting it. I stared at the invitation. Why are you telling me this? Robert's eyes met mine. Cold, sharp. Because I think it's time they saw what they destroyed. Day 1, March 13th, 2023. Robert took us to the house on Peachtree Street. It was bigger than I imagined. Brick and wood, a porch with hanging ferns, windows that let in actual sunlight. Lily ran through every room, claimed the smallest bedroom as hers, spun in circles on the hardwood floors. I stood in the kitchen, staring at granite countertops I didn't choose, cabinets I'd never opened. It felt like someone else's life. Robert left groceries on the counter, told me to rest, said he'd be back tomorrow. I locked the door behind him, stood in the silence. Lily fell asleep on the floor in her new room, wrapped in the blanket from the Sedan. I covered her with my jacket, sat against the wall, cried until my chest hurt. Day 2, March 14th, 2023. I woke up thinking it was a dream. It wasn't. Lily was still asleep. The house was still real. I walked through it again, slower this time, noticed things, scuff marks on the walls, a broken blind in the living room. Someone else had lived here. Someone else had called it home. I opened the mailbox, found letters addressed to me, bills, notices, all dated months ago. My parents had been forwarding everything to their address. Robert came by at noon, brought clothes, toys for Lily, said he'd hired a lawyer to reverse the conservatorship, that it would take time, but it was fixable. I asked him why he was helping. He said, "Because I failed you once. I won't do it again." Day 3, March 15th, 2023. Lily asked when she could go to school. I didn't have an answer. We didn't have records, didn't have proof of address, didn't have anything a normal family has. I called the school district. They needed documents, birth certificate, immunization records, lease or deed. I had a deed, but it didn't feel like mine. That night, Lily asked about her grandparents. She'd never met them, didn't know they existed. I told her they lived far away. She asked if they knew about our new house. I said no. She asked why not. I didn't answer. Day 4, March 16th, 2023. Robert brought the gala invitation again. Set it on the kitchen table. You don't have to go, but you think I should. I think they need to see you, to know you're not invisible anymore. What if they deny everything? They will, at first. Then what's the point? He looked at me for a long time. The point is that you stop hiding. You stop carrying their shame. I picked up the invitation, ran my thumb over the embossed letters. I don't have anything to wear. I'll take care of it. Day 5, March 17th, 2023. A woman arrived at 3 p.m. with a garment bag. Inside was a simple black dress. Elegant, expensive. It fit perfectly. Lily watched me get ready, asked where I was going. I told her to a party. She asked if she could come. I said not this time. Robert's driver picked me up at 5:30 p.m. The gala started at 6. I sat in the back seat, hands folded, heart pounding. I hadn't seen my parents in over 6 years, hadn't spoken to them in 5. And now I was about to walk into a room full of their friends, their colleagues, their carefully constructed world, wearing a dress bought with money from a house they stole from me. The car pulled up to the venue, a mansion in Sandy Springs, valet parking, string lights in the trees. I stepped out, felt the cold air hit my face, smoothed my dress, and walked toward the door. The ballroom was massive. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, a string quartet playing something soft and forgettable. Women in gowns, men in tuxedos, everyone smiling, everyone pretending. I stood in the doorway, invisible, just another guest. Then I saw them. My mother was near the back of the room, talking to a woman in a red dress. She looked the same, older, but the same. Hair styled perfectly, pearl necklace, that same practiced smile. My father stood beside her, gray suit, hand in his pocket, nodding at something someone said. They looked comfortable, content, like people who'd never destroyed their daughter's life. I took a step forward, then another. My heels clicked on the marble floor. A waiter passed with champagne. I didn't take one. I didn't trust my hands. Someone bumped into me, apologized, kept walking. I kept moving toward them, slow, steady. My mother laughed at something, touched the other woman's arm. Then she glanced toward the entrance. Her eyes landed on me. She froze. The smile didn't just fade, it shattered. I watched her face drain of color, watched her mouth open slightly, watched her hand drop from the woman's arm. My father noticed, turned, saw me. His entire body went rigid. For 5 full seconds, no one moved. We just stared at each other across a ballroom full of strangers. Then my mother said something to the woman in red, forced a smile, excused herself. My father followed. They walked toward me, not fast, controlled. But I could see the panic in their eyes. We met near a corner, away from the crowd. My mother spoke first. Her voice was low, tight. "What are you doing here?" "I was invited." "By who? Does it matter?" My father glanced around, making sure no one was listening. "Emily, this isn't the place." "For what? The truth?" My mother's jaw clenched. "You need to leave." "No. People are watching. Let them." She stepped closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but this is not... I know about the house." She stopped. Her face went blank. My father's hand twitched. "What house?" "The one on Peachtree Street. The one you've been renting out for 9 years. The one that's in my name." My mother's eyes flicked to my father, then back to me. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter?" "Yes. Your father." Her face twisted, not shock, rage. "He had no right." "He had every right. It's his house. And he gave it to me." My father's voice came out strangled. "Emily, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly. You told a judge I was unfit. You took control of my property. You collected rent while I was homeless." "That's not..." My mother's voice cracked. She caught herself, lowered it again. "That's not what happened." "Then tell me what did." She didn't answer, just stared at me, calculating, searching for the right lie. That's when I heard footsteps behind me, slow, deliberate. Robert appeared at my side. He didn't look at me, just at them. My mother's face went white. "Dad." "Susan." The air between them was frozen, hostile. Robert raised his hand. In it was a champagne glass. He lifted it slightly. His voice carried across the room. Not loud, but enough. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention for just a moment." The string quartet stopped. Conversations faded. Heads turned. My mother grabbed his arm. "Don't." He pulled away, looked at her. "You had years to tell the truth. You chose silence." She whispered, desperate. "Please." He ignored her, turned to the room, smiled, and then he spoke. Robert's voice filled the ballroom, calm, clear, deadly. "Most of you know me as Robert Hayes. Some of you have worked with my daughter, Susan Carter, on various charitable efforts over the years. Tonight, I'd like to share a story about charity that hits a little closer to home." My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father reached for her. She shook him off. Robert continued. 5 years ago, my granddaughter, Emily lost her husband in a tragic accident. She was 23 years old, 6 months pregnant, alone. Heads turned toward me. I felt 100 eyes land on my face. I didn't move. What you may not know is that Emily has spent the last 5 years struggling, working multiple jobs, raising her daughter in unstable housing, and for the past month, living in homeless shelters across Atlanta. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My mother closed her eyes. What you also may not know is that Emily has owned a 3-bedroom home on Peachtree Street since 2018, a home worth approximately $450,000. More gasps, louder this time. Robert's voice didn't waver. A home that was placed in a trust for her before she was born. A home she should have had access to the moment she needed it most. My father stepped forward. "Robert, this is inappropriate." Robert cut him off. "What's inappropriate, Mark? Is that you and my daughter filed false legal documents claiming Emily was mentally unfit, that you took control of her property, and that for the past 9 years, you have collected over $160,000 in rental income from a house that was never yours." The room exploded. Whispers, shock. Someone dropped a glass. It shattered on the marble floor. My mother's face crumpled. She looked at the crowd, at the people she'd smiled with, volunteered with, pretended with. They were all staring. "That's a lie," she said. Her voice shook. "He's lying." Robert reached into his jacket, pulled out a folded stack of papers. "Bank statements, rental agreements, court filings, all documented, all real." He held them up for the room to see. My father's face turned red. "You have no right to air our private—" "Private?" Robert's voice hardened. "You made it private by hiding it. I'm making it public because your daughter deserves witnesses." My mother turned to me. Her eyes were wet, desperate. "Emily, please, you don't understand. We were trying to protect you. By stealing from me? We weren't stealing. We were managing." "You told a judge I was unstable." "You were grieving. You weren't thinking clearly. I was surviving." My voice cracked. The room went silent. "I was working, raising my daughter, trying to keep us alive, and you were cashing checks." My mother reached for me. I stepped back. "Emily, I'm your mother. You stopped being my mother the day you hung up on me." Her hand dropped. Her face twisted. She looked at the crowd, then back at me. "If you do this, if you humiliate us like this, you'll regret it." I felt something inside me harden. "The only thing I regret is calling you for help." That's when I heard it. Footsteps, heavy, official. 2 men in dark suits entered the ballroom, badges on their belts. One of them scanned the room. His eyes landed on my mother. He walked toward us. My father saw him coming, paled. The officer stopped in front of my mother. "Susan Hayes Carter?" She nodded, barely. "You're being served with a civil complaint for fraudulent control of property and misappropriation of funds." He handed her a manila envelope. She took it. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped it. The officer turned to my father. "Mark Carter, same complaint." He handed him an envelope, too. My father stared at it like it was a snake. The officer nodded. "You'll need to appear in court on the date listed." "Have a good evening." He walked out. The second officer followed. The room was dead silent. No one moved. No one spoke. My mother looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "You planned this?" "No," I said quietly. You did? 5 years ago? Subscribe if you believe some betrayals can't be forgiven. Comment guilty or not guilty. 3 days after the gala, I sat in a lawyer's office in Buckhead. Robert's lawyer, a sharp woman named Victoria Lang with silver hair and a no-nonsense smile. She spread documents across her desk. Your parents are scrambling. They've hired a firm out of Marietta. They're claiming the rental income was used for property maintenance and taxes. Was it? Victoria slid a spreadsheet toward me. Maintenance totaled $11,000 over 9 years. Taxes were $6,200. The rest went into personal accounts. I scanned the numbers. Vacations to Charleston, a kitchen remodel, a new Lexus in 2020. They spent my money on a car. Yes. I felt my chest tighten. Can they be charged criminally? Victoria hesitated. Fraud cases like this are tricky. They'll argue they were acting as trustees, that they believed they had authority. It'll come down to intent. They forged documents. Allegedly. We'll need to prove that. How? She leaned back in her chair. We subpoena the court records from 2013, the conservatorship filing. If the documents were falsified, if the signatures don't match, we have a case. And if they do match? Then we prove you were never unfit. We bring in medical records, employment history, character witnesses. I thought about it, about sitting in a courtroom, about my parents across from me, about a judge deciding who was telling the truth. What if I just want the house back? What if I don't want to fight them? Victoria's face softened. Emily, this isn't just about the house. It's about what they took from you. 5 years of stability, safety, your daughter's childhood. I looked down at my hands. I don't want revenge. This isn't revenge. It's accountability. I didn't respond. Victoria pulled out another document. There's something else you should know. I looked up. Your mother tried to transfer the house 2 weeks ago, filed paperwork to sell it, claimed she needed to liquidate assets for medical expenses. My blood went cold. She was going to sell it? Yes. The buyer backed out when the title search flagged the trust. That's when Robert's lawyer stepped in. She was going to sell my house. She tried. It didn't work. I felt something inside me snap. Not anger, clarity. I want to fight them. Victoria nodded. Good. She slid a contract toward me. This authorizes me to represent you. We'll file a countersuit, reverse the conservatorship, reclaim full ownership, and pursue damages for lost income and emotional distress. I picked up the pen, stared at the signature line. What if I lose? You won't. But what if I do? Victoria leaned forward. Then at least you tried. At least you stopped letting them win. I signed my name, Emily Jane Carter. The ink was still wet when Victoria took the contract. We'll file Monday. I nodded, stood, shook her hand. When I left the office, the sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink. Lily was with Robert at the house, probably eating dinner, probably safe. I sat in my car, pulled out my phone, stared at my mother's contact. I hadn't deleted it, hadn't blocked it, just left it there. A name I never called. I typed a message, short, simple. You tried to sell my house. Now I'm taking everything. I hit send, watched the message deliver, watched the read receipt appear. 3 dots. She was typing, then they disappeared. No response. I put my phone away, started the car, drove home, to my home. April 10th, 2023. Robert asked me to meet him at a coffee shop in Virginia Highland. Not his lawyer's office, somewhere neutral. He was already there when I arrived. 2 cups on the table. He slid one toward me. How's Lily? Good. She started pre-K last week. He smiled. That's wonderful. We sat in silence for a moment, sipping coffee, watching people walk by outside. Then he said, I need to ask you something. I looked at him. I want to adopt you, legally. I blinked. What? I want to file paperwork, make you my daughter in the eyes of the law. Give Lily my last name too, if you'll allow it. I set my cup down. Why? Because you deserve a family that protects you. And because I failed you once. I won't do it again. My throat tightened. Robert, you don't have to. I want to. His voice was firm. I have money, Emily, more than I'll ever need. And when I die, it should go to you, to Lily, not to your mother, not to anyone who hurt you. This isn't about money. I know, but it's about legacy, about making sure you're safe, that Lily grows up knowing she belongs somewhere. I looked out the window, watched a mother walk by with a stroller, watched her laugh at something her kids said. What if I say no? Robert didn't flinch. Then I respect that, but I hope you won't. I thought about it, about what it would mean, about Lily becoming Lily Hayes, about me shedding the name Carter like old skin. My parents would lose their minds. Yes, they'd fight it. Let them. I looked at him. You really hate them, don't you? His face hardened. I hate what they did to you. I hate that I didn't stop it sooner. It's not your fault. It is. I knew Susan was cruel. I knew Mark was weak. I should have fought harder for you. You're fighting now. He nodded. So let me finish it. Let me give you what you should have always had. I felt tears prick my eyes, blinked them back. What if I'm not ready? Then we wait. But Emily, you've been ready your whole life. You just didn't know it. I picked up my coffee, took a long sip, let the warmth settle in my chest. If I say yes, what happens next? We file the paperwork. Court approves it. You and Lily become Hayes. And when the house case settles, everything goes into a trust. Protected. Permanent. I thought about Lily, about her running through the house on Peachtree Street, about her asking when we could paint her room, about her finally feeling safe. I thought about my mother, about her face at the gala, about the panic in her eyes when the officers walked in. I thought about my father, silent, weak, always looking away. And I thought about me, about who I'd been, about who I was becoming. I looked at Robert. Okay. He exhaled, smiled, reached across the table, took my hand. Welcome home, Emily. June 15th, 2023. The court ruled in my favor. The conservatorship was reversed. Full ownership of the house transferred to me. My parents were ordered to repay $84,000 in improperly used rental income. They couldn't. They filed for bankruptcy 2 weeks later. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. The adoption was finalized on July 1st, 2023. Emily Jane Hayes, Lily Rose Hayes. Robert cried when the judge signed the papers. I'd never seen him cry before. Lily asked why her last name changed. I told her we got a new one, a better one. She asked if that meant we were keeping the house. I said yes. She smiled, said good, said she liked her room. My parents sent one letter. It arrived in August. My mother's handwriting. No return address. It said, "We did what we thought was best. You'll understand when you're older." I burned it in the fireplace. Watched the paper curl and blacken. Watched the words disappear. Robert got sick in September. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctor said 6 months. Maybe. He lasted 4. He died on January 18th, 2024, in his home in Buckhead. I was holding his hand. Lily was asleep in the next room. His last words were, "Take care of her." I said, "I will." He left everything to me. The house in Buckhead, his investments, his accounts. Enough money that Lily and I would never struggle again. I sold the Buckhead house. Kept the one on Peachtree Street. It's ours now. Really ours. Lily's room is painted purple. She picked it herself. There are books on the shelves, toys in the closet, a nightlight shaped like a star. I got a job managing a nonprofit in Midtown, helping families transitioning out of homelessness. I know what they need. I've been where they are. Sometimes I see women at the shelter where Lily and I used to stay. I recognize the look in their eyes, the exhaustion, the fear. I give them my card. Tell them there's help. Tell them they're not invisible. I haven't spoken to my parents since the gala. I heard through someone that they moved to Florida. Somewhere cheap. Somewhere no one knows them. I don't think about them much anymore. Don't wonder if they regret it. Don't care if they do. Lily asked about them once, last month. She said, "Do I have other grandparents?" I said, "You did, but they're gone now." She said, "Oh, okay," and went back to coloring. That was it. No follow-up questions, no sadness, just acceptance. Some families lose their children. Others lose their secrets. Mine lost both. Every night, I tuck Lily into bed, kiss her forehead, turn on her nightlight. She says, "Good night, Mama." I say, "Good night, baby." And I close the door to her room, in our house, on Peachtree Street. The one I almost never knew I had. The one my mother tried to steal. The one Robert made sure I'd keep. I stand in the hallway, listen to her breathe, feel the weight of everything we survived, and I know we're finally home. If this story hit you hard, subscribe and comment below. Do you think forgiveness is earned or given? I want to know what you think.